Last time on Sailing Balachandra, I made a video about psychology dealing with your brain and cruising. Hey guys, if you're new to this channel, I'm Dan and my partner is Noel and we're sailing Balachandra. We sailed all the way from Nova Scotia, Canada to the Caribbean and we are sailing all around the Caribbean now. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, just go below this video, look for the big red subscribe button, press that button. In this week's video, we're going to do something really different. We're going to go back and look at all of the DIY that I've done on this boat since buying it back in 2017. I've done tons of DIY on this boat, lots of projects, and I filmed pretty much every one of them. Some of them are buried inside of other episodes, some of them are just dedicated DIY episodes, but I figured just to save you guys some time, I'd make a new video and show you snippets of all of my DIY projects I've done for Balachandra. So as you watch this video, look for the little cards as they appear at the top of the screen. It's like a little gray bar. You can click that button, it'll take you to the video and you can watch the entire project that I'm talking about. And when you're done, you can just go back to this video and keep watching for more DIY boat projects. I hope you enjoy it. So the glow plug is behind this sort of rubber thing. Close to 1 ohm. Awesome. So my goal for this afternoon is to install the framework on the boat that I'll need for the winter cover. Alright, so my plastic enclosure is completely shrink wrapped. Continues to run until I manually turn it off myself. So obviously the bilge pump itself is the problem, and I'll be putting this new bilge pump in to replace the old one. So what you want to do is hit this thing until it starts to ooze out, and you'll see it. The whole thing just kind of melts. Hey guys, so today I'm going to deal with some creaky floorboard issues I've got here on Balachandra. If you look down here, when you walk across the floor, it's a bit of a creakiness to it. Shove the syringe into the hole. Fill it with epoxy. Before clamping down this piece of cabin sole, I applied a layer of plastic wrap so my wooden blocks wouldn't stick. Alright, so here it is. This is the replacement plumbing for my raw water in the forward head. I brought the sea strainer with me. We're going to clean it up. We're going to take it apart, change the seals, put it back together, make sure it's looking nice, and take it back to the boat, reinstall it, and make sure it's watertight. And you know how it is when you have two dissimilar metals in a marine environment? One will typically eat the other. Literally eating a hole right through. Like, I mean, it kind of looks like on Alien when the acid hits the metal and eats a hole. The fiberglass door to my chain locker. I'm going to chamfer this edge off, this slice right across here, and remove this big chunk. Back aboard Balachandra, and I brought my chain locker door. It's finished. Fiberglass all repaired. So in this week's episode, I found some wet core on the deck around my anchor windlass switches. They clearly didn't isolate the core when they installed these switches, and that's kind of a big no-no. Bend them like this to fit them in the holes. Pulling out long strands of fiberglass right off the cloth itself and mixing it right into the epoxy. We're going to start by scraping the bottom, then we're going to sand the bottom, then we'll put another coat of paint on the bottom. We have to change our zincs. And we have to look at those through hulls that were frozen. I was able to bring this in to get 3D scanned. So that's what they did. They put this on a 3D scanner and they scanned the whole thing in dimensionally for me and created a 3D model from this. And today I was fortunate enough to receive my first print. So here it is. I went up and had a look at the winch and disconnected things, and then I've been using my multimeter to test out this control box, which is mounted just in our V-berth there. And there's some like nasty corrosion on there. It's not terrible, but it would stop it from making contact. So to fix this switch, I think all I really need to do is take some sandpaper and clean up these contacts, put it all back together and give it a shot. All right, so that's it. Holes are cut and it's all cleaned up. I flared all these little holes here so that I don't get gel coat cracks. I'll be ascending with the bosun's chair, but this is sort of like, if something goes wrong, this will hold me really well. And I've also got an ascender, that's what this is called, but I'm just using one as a way to hold me on one of the halyards in case something goes wrong and I slip, this will catch me. So it's just hanging there. I got all my tools in a bag here, and every tool this time is tied to a string so I don't lose it. So with this system, you can use your existing instruments. If you have an existing masthead unit, depth sounder, speed over ground instruments, as long as they output an NMEA signal, you can input that data into the Raspberry Pi, which will multiplex that data out as a stream, and then you can broadcast that through a Wi-Fi signal out to your tablet or your PC or your phone, or you can just run your full navigation system right off the Raspberry Pi, because it's essentially just like an onboard computer. So let's get started, and I'll show you how I installed the Raspberry Pi system with OpenPlotter in my nav station as our onboard computer. In this video, you'll learn how to build your own Wi-Fi multiplexer with chart plotter, autopilot control, AIS, and a live NMEA 0183 or NMEA 2000 data feed for all your Sailboat data, and use it with your phone, iPad, Android or Windows tablet or laptop. Today, I'm taking a look at one of our Portlights. This is the only leaky Portlight we've got, and obviously we've been trying to deal with it by putting tape around it. And the tape did work for a while, you know, but it's not a permanent fix. And before we go south, this is something that I need to address. It's really important not to tighten the screws and bolts until the caulking has dried. Also, the screws should remain stationary while tightening. If you happen to be installing a new windlass, or you're having someone install a windlass for you, make sure that they're isolating any core that they dig through. I mean, these are some pretty big holes put through a piece that's a permanent fixture on your boat. This piece here is bolted right onto the deck, and the windlass is then bolted into this piece. Fairly thick piece of plywood, but right here, they didn't isolate it. So I took some chisels and I dug this out and made a cavity. This needs to be stripped down and cleaned and then repainted. As you can see, I have been able to remove the motor shaft right from the motor. This is where I removed the gasket on the gearbox. The main reason I'm taking the mast out is because some of the keel bolts that I need to tighten and replace the washers for are located under the mast step.
Yeah, don't stand up. Just keep going. All right, you gotta get this.
Hey guys, so as you can see, we got the mast down. We used this crane and we got it down. So yeah, we're gonna drop the rudder today. There's this space here, but that's not enough to get the rudder out. When this slip moves, we can drop the rudder lower and get it out. All right, well, it took all day the way these things typically do. But I got my rudder now tied on, and I did this rope that goes across and below, kind of a little basket for the rudder to hold, and that's my car jack underneath. Got my rudder out. I'm ready to cut it open and see what I've got inside. I know it's wet. Okay, with this foam, you use equal parts A and B. First thing you want to do is shake this up really good. So you can see that I've already kind of carved this to a degree. I had poured all this foam and it overflowed and everything. I took a regular saw, like a wood cutting hand saw, and it worked really well for carving this out. And then I just filled all the low spots with some more foam. The surface of the fiberglass is uneven, so I'm going to use some thickened G-Plex epoxy underneath this to level it until that epoxy's dried, and then I can put the washers and the bolt back on and torque it all down. And here are the washers I picked up from McMaster Car in the United States. You can see it says 316. These are 316 stainless steel. And then the bolt will go on top of that. And then I torque all this down using a torque wrench to a specified torque. In order to meet that torque, I have to use a torque multiplier. This torque multiplier is a 4-to-1 ratio. That means it will magnify the amount of torque that I can apply by hand 4 times. The first thing I did to start building my series drogue was download the instructions from Sailrite. You need 3 straps per cone. To measure the strap to fit the cone, you can double it up like this, so it's basically folded in half. You find the middle by the halfway point. You line that up to the top of the cone like this along the marks that you've made. And in doing so, you'll know that you have 15 inches of strap above the cone and roughly 10 inches or so below the cone for the lower attachment point. You want to push it in about 3/4 of an inch or so, then turn it about 45 degrees so that it comes out through the braided line at an angle. So here it is. This is our Jordan Series drogue, pretty much completed. So that's the end of this interactive, dedicated DIY boat projects video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, just go below this video and look for the big red subscribe button. Press that button. You can leave a like or a comment. And if you haven't checked out our Patreon page, it's always a good time to do so. Patreon's a place where you can give back if you like the videos that we make and you want to support us. That's where you do it. Thanks for watching. See you later.